Let's have a glass of wine. Just watch what goes on.
Hey guys, welcome back to another installment of HairTube. I'm here today with Jamie.
Hello.
And Jamie's asked me to cut her like a concave style graduated bob, going short in the back to long in the front. Many of you have asked me to do this haircut for a long time. Well, the opportunity's arrived, so that's what we're going to do. Pretty straightforward. We're going to wear it sleek today. One thing that I may do is add a little bit of layering to this shape. Just don't want it to end up too triangular, so we'll show you how to do that. It's just using a very, I guess you call it a little bit of a tricky, like zigzag section, but once you know how to do it, it's quite easy. So, have any questions for me?
Well, I'm ready to go. No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
You trust me already?
That's it. That's it. I'm ready to cut it short and get ready for the sun to go. So,
All right.
tune in.
Okay. Well, maybe I should just let Jamie keep speaking. We'll get her over the base and we'll come back. See you in a bit.
Still looking for some relief. There's not a way it works for me. Even if I know you're 99 problems, babe. I'll be telling stories that no one's ever known.
We are back from the basin. Previous videos I've done, we've always pre-dried the hair. However, because we're having this particular haircut, which is like a graduated bob, for two reasons I'm doing it wet. One, I find it easy to change or to go from long to shorter, so like big changes in length, I always do wet. And the other reason I like to do it wet is because I think you have a little bit more control. So when you're cutting it wet, like I've said about when you're not cutting it wet or when you are cutting it wet, the reasons why we do either is really not that important per se. You just have to make sure that you're doing it for a reason. So I've said I like to cut hair dry, especially long, so that when there's movement in the hairline, I can see it. So when I'm doing bangs, they don't spring up on me. Or because there might be a crown and I don't want to cut it too short. So whatever your reasoning, that's fine, but for this particular haircut, we're going to do it wet. So let's get started. Section straight down the middle. And we're going to work this in just two sections only. And if I'm able to control the hair, I'm actually going to avoid using a clip at all. And what I do like to do is just have this coming down a little bit because we're working here. Let's start on this side. So we may need to use a clip. Let me see. Just have to be careful because we've got a fresh piercing there. Okay, so I want to cut a guideline first. So this is all about going short to long, so we need diagonal forward sections. We need to over direct the hair. And we're doing graduation. So I like to build foundations in these haircuts using graduation. Then when I dry it off, I'll just go back and I'll take the graduation from underneath out. You can cut it on the skin if you want, but what I've found is because the neck rounds off, if you want to cut it down and leave it longer towards the front, if you go follow it around, because it's round, you're actually going to end up with it like square. So I like to cut it off the skin between my fingers so I've got more control. Here's that little bit of graduation I was talking about. And now once you've done that, just go and nick that out. I'm going to do this. I'll just jump in front. If you could look straight in the mirror for me, gorgeous. And then when we comb this down, you can see this shape is going to start to come all the way down through here. We're going to try and retain as much of that length as we can. Now we're going to bring the hair from in front of the ear into this rear section. Spin back around, chin down and slightly to the right. Perfect. Just helps us avoid, turning the head just helps avoid the shoulder a little. Now that I've got my guideline in the back, if you want to do this freehand, you can. You could even place your comb on here, like that. However, I still like to graduate it between my fingers because, as I said already, I find the control is much better. Now we just need to repeat that on the other side. Taking a diagonal forward section on this side, And we're going to take a diagonal forward section on the other side, just so it helps me hit the right angle. Comb this side forward so it doesn't get in our way. Check the head position, head straight, chin down, slightly turn to the left-hand side this time. Again, that just helps us avoid the shoulder here, because when we get up on here it can actually make it very hard to get the right angle. And we're just going to use the center of our first section as a guide. And I would strongly suggest that you exaggerate this a lot and over direct it a lot, and you can always adjust it so that if you miss the angle, you haven't cut it too short. See how I exaggerated that a lot? Now I can go back in and adjust it a little bit to make sure that I'm cutting it on the right angle. And then the graduation under there, if I cut that out, that probably looks almost the same. Next section. When you're cutting to the left, make sure you sit on the right, and vice versa on the right. Make sure you sit to the left. Your body is going to determine whether you can over direct it or not, because if I'm sitting, just so you guys can see, if I'm sitting here, how am I going to over direct it? You can't. But as soon as I turn Jamie away and I'm here, look how easy it is, actually just by putting it, pulling, like sectioning it and projecting it into my body where I'm sitting, it automatically over directs the hair. Now I'm just going to go through as I did on the other side, taking these sections, we'll get to here, and then we bring the front into the back. Okay, let's check for balance and make sure we've got our beautiful A line starting to appear in here, which is super important. You can see that little bit of graduation that we're going to be removing underneath here, but I would suggest to you guys that you do this when the hair's dry, because I like to do all that little detail work when the hair's dry. Just from experience, sometimes I do, like I am now, do it when it's wet, but you're better off to do it dry, because when the hair dries it can shrink and jump and do all that sort of crazy stuff on us. But just so you guys can see for demonstrational purposes, you can see that we're getting that beautiful A-line shape starting to come through there. So all the hair has been now combed back into the baseline, and we just need to do that last check to make sure we've got all the hair into our baseline shape. Then we're going to dry it all off, and then we're going to do the rest of the haircut dry. Chin down for me, gorgeous. Thank you. Oh yeah. Let's get a look straight ahead, darling, please, and chin down. Perfect. That's too much. Turn your head this way for me. Thank you, darling. So the shape in our baseline's finished, and I'll just give it a quick check, make sure that we're hitting the shape that we need, and now we're going to put our graduation through the bottom of this haircut. One thing that I've noticed is that the hairline is actually having an effect on how the hair sits just here. So it might be worth like getting little clippers and nipping that off, but we'll worry about that in a minute. So now we're going to go back almost to our original section. So I've sectioned the front away because there's a lot of hair here. I'm going to go just underneath the occipital bone area, and now we're going to do our graduation. Just some classic sectioning for this. Again, this is a very effective but basic technique, and the reason why I say that is because I think sometimes as hairdressers we forget about how beautiful some of those techniques can be. We learned them so long ago, we forget to use them. You know, we know them probably as foundation techniques, and then all of a sudden we move on to more advanced hair cutting, and we forget that we can build those shapes that we want using those foundation techniques. So just vertical graduation. And then we're going to take another section above the occipital bone, bring that hair down, working uniform until we get to the sides, and then we want to make sure we over direct that back. If you struggle as a righty to do it that way, you can use your comb and you can sort of come in this way and cut it too. So, or you can adjust the head position, because again the shoulder, when we're working at certain lengths, does get in the way. Spin Jamie around, you'll start to see that graduation starting to build through here. Making sure these are the same. There's just this little bit of excess length here keeps bothering me, and the reason why I've been hesitant to cut it off is, as I've already said, there's cowlick under here and the hairline's very strong. You can see actually how it pushes out. So these are all factors that you need to consider, and at the beginning of this video I spoke about making sure that if you're going to cut hair wet, that you took into consideration some of these naturally occurring elements, and that they could actually be missed when you're cutting wet. Just going to cross-check horizontally, it should be even in the middle, and then longer towards the sides, which it is. Longer towards the side. Move on to the next section. So we've done our graduation underneath, but now I'm going to stop there because we're going to incorporate a little bit of layering, and we need to connect those two together. So first, we're going to use a guideline. And again, be careful about crowns and stuff. I'm just going to take 1 centimetre horizontally and just let it fall. And I just want to see how far above my graduation that sits. So we're going to layer all this first, and then we'll connect our graduation underneath to the layering on top. So we're going to work horizontal through the top until we run out of hair. And it's a stationary guideline, so we're going to bring everything back here. So now we're going to work, as you've probably seen me do on previous haircuts, from left to right, horizontally, all the way into this guideline at the back. until we run out of hair, and then once that's done we can connect the top to the sides, which will be our layering on the top and our graduation on the sides we can connect together. I know I'm pulling quite hard, darling. I'm going to just try and resist it a little bit. Thank you. Perfect. Now we'll go and connect here to the graduation underneath. Our graduation is there underneath and now our layering's on top. So what we need to do is just join those 2 points together. So let's see if we can see where that will be. Yep, so that's there. So I'm going to spin Jamie around so you guys can see from the side those points that we want to connect. Just going to take a little bit of that away because we don't need that there at the moment. Chin down just a little bit more, perfect. And now when we bring this out, we should be able to see that layering on the top. Actually, I need to bring a bit more of that in because I've put too much of it away. And what we want to do is make sure we don't bunch it down here. We actually need to spread it evenly over the plane of the comb, and there it is there. Can you see that? Up the top here where the layering is, and down here where the graduation is. Done. And we keep going all the way through until we run out of hair. When I'm working on this side, I like to stand so that I'm hitting the right angles. Again, we don't want to bunch it all the way down here. We actually want to project it out of the head and make sure that it's spread out evenly over the comb. So I'm going to continue this all the way through, and we'll be back when I'm done. Our shape's in there, but now it's time to personalize, so with texture. I'm going to go through horizontal sections, and we're going to remove all this bulk out of the ends because we want it to sit much flatter than this. Just like to go through taking a centimetre at a time, looking down onto the hair. Just really loosens it up and gets it to move around a lot. I start feeling lighter now, huh?
For sure.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
This way for me. Thank you. I finished my texturizing. I'm just going to use my croc scissor and I'm just going to do a little bit of freehand just around, and then all that's left to do is to just connect these two pieces here. I wanted to make this not mumsy, and you know, that's not an offensive thing. I just don't want it to look classic. Probably mumsy is not a fair indication of what I actually mean. So what I mean is, like, I guess I don't want to look mature. I mean, Jamie's very young, so one thing I say about these haircuts is you can actually make young women look really old, and that's not a good thing. So, and there's nothing wrong with old. I mean, I'm old as shit. Like, I'm old myself, so don't worry about it. So chin down. I'm just going to use the crocs just to texturize these ends in, make it look a bit spiky and a bit funky, and then we're just going to connect the sides. And just like we do on long hair, we turn the head sideways. So if you could look into the mirror, gorgeous. Thank you. Oh, so good. Gonna style using rocket texture, a little bit in my hands, a little bit in the hair, and then we just need to activate it with the heat. Just close your eyes for me, darling, please. Loosen it up. Good to get some in the crown area, just here. Give it a bit of volume. Thing that you can also do with rocket texture is you don't have to be scared about sort of running the brush through if it gets a little bit gritty. These products are sea salt type sprays like rocket texture. They will get a little bit gritty. And then we're just going to pull that back off the face and use a little bit of smooth setter just to settle it down. Actually, we probably don't even need it. Yeah, I don't think we need it. You know, it's okay to have it a little bit flyaway texture is what you're sort of going for. Love it. How do you feel?
Love it.
Spin you around so everyone can see the back. So recap, we started with our baseline, short to long. Then we went back and graduated it, laid it, blended that in, lots of texture, spinning around. Let's have a look at side profile first. So we get that nice flow through to the front. Beautiful. And then still have to make sure that when we wear this back, got that nice little frame in the front. You look good.
I love it. Feels nice and airy.
It's sort of like, this is quite elegant, and then, as I said, Yeah, if you want to make it a bit fun, we can really start to bring that texture out. Could be my favourite one yet.
I love it.
Thanks for trusting me.
I loved it.
Big change. That was fun to do as well. I enjoyed that. There's something satisfying about, it's not about whether I cut it long or short, like it's about now I've made you look that way, that's my fault. And there's something really satisfying about that. It's cool. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Shout out your Instagram and I'll go follow you.
So it's Jamie Bella, JAMIEBELLA.
Follow me, come on, no one follows me. Nah, it's all good. Thanks for supporting the channel. Please make sure you subscribe. Don't forget to go and follow Matrix on Instagram and also on YouTube. Without them, this would not be possible because they support everything we do. And please share this video with someone you think might benefit. Jamie, thank you very much for trusting me. You look amazing.
Thank you for having me.
And this might be the best haircut in this series. We'll see what everyone says. But until next time, from me, it's bye.